Welcome to the Hymn of Ash and Echo. Tonight's story is A Hopeless Pursuit, a tale of fear, leadership, and survival from the collapse. The metal gates slammed into the ground. The sound filled the night for a second, before it faded back into the cacophony of growls and snarls. Running footsteps echoed all around them, but Larry didn't turn. He didn't look. He didn't dare. All he had eyes for was Tina, stupid, panicked Tina, running away from safety and straight into the unknown. Shit. At least she didn't panic and run into the flaming wave of zombies rushing at them. A zombie slammed into the woman, and she shrieked. Larry lowered his shoulder and rammed it. The thing staggered, and Tina kept running, leaving him alone to take it on. The zombie lunged at him, and Larry tripped it, running after the now screaming woman. "Be fucking quiet," he roared inwardly, eyes darting between the garbage truck and the zombies at their left. They were closing in fast, faster than they could reach the truck. 3 of them, he had no chance. "Stand and fight," he shouted, but the woman kept running. "Fuck!" Larry ran after her, mind searching for a solution. A gun roared. One of the 3 staggered, colliding with another one. The 2 of them tumbled, falling in a heap of tangled limbs and snarls. The 3rd one kept coming. Only a few steps away now, Larry body slammed it. The thing shrieked, bounced off a car, and lunged at him. Larry's spear caught its chest, and he flung it around. The zombie stumbled into others of its kind, but Larry didn't wait to see if they fell. He sprinted after the woman. The gun roared again, and a zombie to their right stumbled, a hole opening in its neck. It roared and charged. Larry's spear met its head, and it fell. Another gunshot roared, then another. Larry glanced over his shoulder to see Barry standing in the street, the stolen gun in his hand, as he fired around Larry and Tina, totally ignoring the ones running at him. "Run, you fool," Larry shouted, turning back to his task, keeping that idiot of a woman safe. She finally reached the truck and began climbing, but she was too slow. 2 zombies slammed into the truck-torn fingernails, reaching for her ankles. Larry threw his spear. The screwdrivers pierced one's head and neck, dropping it. The other one grabbed Tina by the boot. Larry crashed into it, slamming it against the garbage truck, ramming a screwdriver into its skull. The thing stiffened in his arms, but he didn't care. Larry swung himself up, hands and feet working overtime just to get him inside. Something grabbed his foot. The nails tore through his pants, then skin, heat, wetness. A streak of fire down his ankle and up his calf. Larry screamed. The pain flared. Tina's hoe flashed into view, faster than he'd ever seen her move. The twin prongs punched through the zombie's skull. The pressure on his foot released, and Larry flew headfirst into the garbage. The smell of rotten food and wet dog filled his nose, and he found himself welcoming it. At least it didn't smell like old coins and rotten meat. "Barry! Anna!" His mind screamed, and Larry surged forward, all but falling out of the truck as he scanned the street. There they were, not 10 feet from the construction site, running inside, all but Barry, the man tangled with 2 burning zombies, and came out on top. Larry saw the burning horde closing in, shining bright in the night as the rest of his crew slipped into the unfinished building. All but Barry, the man lingered outside, standing tall over the 2 zombies he killed, facing Larry. Larry stared at that psycho, not comprehending what the man was doing. His face was nothing but a shadow in the night. "Run!" The word tore itself out of Larry's throat. "Hide! Fool!" Barry lifted his spear and disappeared into the shadows. Larry glared after him, not able to look away. Not even as the wave of burning zombies surged, tearing through the fence and slamming into the building. He all but heard glass breaking, wood shrieking with fire as he watched the burning zombies disappear into the building. "Shit," Larry breathed, letting himself fall back into the stinking mass. Barry's raised spear burned into his mind. the same way the flaming horde was. That man, Larry thought, shifting to take a look. Pain shot through his ankle and calf. Fuck! He sat up, rolling up his pants. 4 red gashes spread across his calf, blood flowing freely. Larry grabbed his bag and poured schnapps over the wounds. Fire erupted in his leg. Lightning shot through his body. No, he thought, rubbing the wound clean with a spare shirt. Not now, no. Larry poured more schnapps on it and snarled. He wouldn't go out like this, no. If he did, who would save Mighty? Who would take care of Barry and Anna? Fucking Tina. The thought tore through him like a knife through butter. He turned angry eyes at her, ready to spit fire and venom, ready to tell her all she was. A coward. Useless. Deadweight. Larry calmed the storm within, forcing his heart to slow. He might die. He might not. There was nothing he could do about it now. The only thing left to do is to find out if the others survived and save them. Despite that, his whole life started flashing before his eyes, mostly focused on his dead parents, his dog, and the last day. Who knew that the most he would ever live was after the world ended? He saw Marge die again. He saw himself take Helen on. He saw Barry missing the stab and Anna coming in clutch with her pan. A smile spread across his chest as he thought of her, his own bleeding foot in his hands. And he finally saw it. In the memory of Stephen abandoning Tim to die, pure compassion was never the thing that got them through. It was a mix, a balance of cool-headedness, compassion, and ruthlessness. Larry applied bandages to his foot, feeling like a fool. He let guilt take the wheel and pretended it was compassion. Fuck, he breathed, looking at the bandages slowly turning red, then up at Tina. You okay? She nodded. Larry nodded back, eyes darting toward the construction site, toward the last place he saw Anna and Barry. And again, his cool-headedness prevailed. Well, his intrusive thoughts did. Just text them. Larry grabbed his phone and hoped their phones were on vibrate only. Larry wrote a quick text to Anna and Barry, and he watched the screen as it failed to send. Are they dead? Tina asked, her voice thin and tiny. Or it's the construction site, Larry said. But in his mind's eye, he saw them trampled under a mass of burned, undead bodies, teeth and nails. It's the construction site. Tina nodded, eyes darting between his face and leg. What? She shook her head. Just say it. Are you infected? I don't know. And you sure as shit don't. Larry sighed. No matter how much he tried rationalizing it, he was pissed at the woman. Look, we don't know what kind of sickness this is, but if we assume it's a normal earthly disease, then the infection process will take some time. Depending on the infection site and viral load, even if I'm infected, it will take some time for me to get sick. Okay? She stared at him, as if he were speaking gibberish. Not okay? How are you so calm about it? I'm not calm, he said, grabbing a bagel out of his bag. I'm just being practical. Given that I might only have a few hours or less, I don't really have the time to panic. We need to save the others. What if they are already dead? Tina muttered. Well, then we die making sure. Larry chewed on the bagel, and it tasted like the garbage around them. Eating here was dumb. He smiled at himself as he packed the bagel away. What if I don't want to? Laughter bubbled in his gut. It burst out of him as one big, loud, and manic sound. It echoed amongst the trash, bringing with it growls from outside. Tina flinched away from him. You think you got a choice? He asked, tears filling his eyes. After all this? You think you... He pointed at her. Get a say in what we do and where we go. She moved further back. Girl, you owe those people your life 6 times over, and you will give it freely, even if it's a hopeless pursuit, just to see if they are dead. Got that? She nodded. Larry laughed some more, not even sure why. But it felt so good to laugh. It felt so free. So right. Larry laughed until his shoulders and chest started hurting. Then he laughed some more, letting it taper off into an amazed snort and a shit ton of growls and snarls. Ugh, jeez. He wiped the tears off his face. You are one funny woman. She nodded again, not meeting his eyes, holding her hoe tight. We need a plan. Plus, I need to get my spear back. You dropped it? She asked, still not looking at him. No. I tossed it to save you. So you will help me get it back, Larry said. Pain shot through his leg like lightning, a deep throbbing fire tingling to life in his calf. Well, shit, Larry thought, placing more weight on it. His leg buckled. Larry peeked out of the garbage truck, eyes focused on the construction site. He had checked his phone 5 more times. His text finally went through, but he had yet to get a response. Be alive, he thought, turning his focus to the snarling and growling zombies beneath him. Maybe 3 dozen stood there, claw-like hands reaching for them, bloody maws snapping at them. Larry stared at the bloodshot eyes. They were enraged, so eager to get him, yet so impotent. The pergola flashed in his mind's eye. How easy it had been to dispose of that 6 from above. His eyes darted to his steel spear. It lay there, out of reach and useless. Give me your hoe, Larry said. Why? Tina asked. Because I said so, Larry said, turning to the woman. And find me a 10-inch piece of wood or something else in this mess. She stared at him, not moving. Now I'm done explaining myself. It's time for you to start thinking for yourself and keeping up. This shit, he gestured at the truck and his leg, can't, and it won't happen again. What do you mean? She asked, handing him the hoe. Larry's eyebrows shot up, and she blinked at him. He stared at her for a moment longer, then spun, the hoe arching downward. He didn't really aim. He didn't have to. There were so many of them that the prongs tore through 2 heads at once. Things stiffened and fell back, almost ripping the weapon out of his hands. Not good, Larry muttered and slammed down. Another fell, then another, and another. Then a few more before his hands turned to lead. Larry pulled back in, letting himself flop onto the trash bags. His hands dropped next to him, as if they weren't even his own. Why did you stop? Tina asked. I need a break, he said, checking on his wound. It still bled, the bandages now more red than white. Can I try? She asked. Sure. Did you find what I asked for? She shook her head, taking the hoe. Did you even try? No, she muttered. Larry snatched the weapon back. Hey, she snapped. Find me something I can turn into a spear, and then we can both get to killing. I'm not going to dig around in trash. Push my hands in. Who knows what's under there? What? Larry blinked. Yeah, needles and shit. And you could get infected with something? She nodded emphatically. Are you fucking with me? Larry asked. She shook her head. Because you have to be. He pulled his torn pant leg up, showing the bloody bandages. Get back to it now! Larry, you can't... I can't what? He snapped. Stop being so fucking selfish and stupid and do as you are told. Got it? She blinked tears out of her eyes. Crocodile tears stopped working as soon as the dead rose. Now back to it. Larry stood back up, pain flaring in his shoulders. But it was nothing compared to the fire ripping through his thigh. He swung the hoe high and slammed it down. Then again and again. Each time one fell, 2 more took its place. And Larry killed those 2, and more, until his arms shook with the effort, and yet he still swung. The hoe cut the air, blood sprayed, and zombies fell. Men, women, children, it didn't matter. He killed them all the same, again, and again, until the mass of dead and undead blurred into one singular thing he was hitting. His phone vibrated. Larry stumbled back into the truck, grabbing for it, fumbling with it, and almost dropping it. His leg caught something, and he dropped like a trash bag. Both hands clutched the phone as if it were made of gold. The blue light hit his eyes. One new SMS. Blood rushed into his ears, beating like a drum. Anna? Barry? He unlocked the phone. His fingers trembled over the notification, his heart wanting to break out of his chest. He clicked it, an automatic phone provider SMS, informing him about an upcoming deal. His hands fell, the shitty device slipping out of his fingers. His heart fell through his stomach and straight into the trash bags he lay on. Fuck me, he thought, taking deep, stinking breaths, sweat trickling down his face and shirt as Barry's burned corpse danced in his mind's eye. Even in death, he somehow expected the man to remain his usual insane self. Focus on what you can do, he told himself, sitting up, reaching for the hoe again. His shoulders protested, his muscles twitched. Larry grabbed it anyway, standing up. Fire. Lightning. His leg gave in. Larry dropped on his ass. The wound pulsed. Hot, wet, and wrong. A thought cut through the pain. Is this it? Larry shook the thought away, but even a worse one took its place. If I turn, they are dead. Hurry up, he muttered to himself, forcing his mind back on the task at hand, zombies barring their exit. Will this do? Tina held up a broken chair leg, some 10 inches long and shining gray-white. Aluminum, judging by the way it bent at one end. Not perfect, but it would do. Larry? She asked. That's just right. He tossed her the hoe. She caught it, eyes going wide. Get some kills in. In 5 minutes, we're calling Janet's phone. What? She asked. Keep up, he said, zip-tying a screwdriver to the curved end. But won't that pull all the zombies towards the construction site? Indirectly, yeah. But if we are lucky, the things will pile into the courtyard, giving us a clear path across. Plus 3 additional Molotov cocktails. The ones Barry left by the car? She whispered. Larry nodded, eyes flicking back to his leg. We have to move. Larry stood some 5 feet away as Tina swung her hoe down. Janet's contact pulled up, but he hesitated. Giving Tina some more practice kills, she needed it desperately. Because the only thing keeping her alive was him. And it had been so since the outbreak started. Barry wouldn't be so forthcoming. Larry glanced at his ankle. Pain flared up, as if only waiting for his attention. Maybe I should disinfect it again? He glanced at Tina, and she moved sluggishly. 6 strikes in, and the woman seemed to be at her end. She lifted the hoe again, the bloody weapon trembling for a moment before it swung down, propelled by gravity. Keep at it. Larry sat down, unwrapping his leg. She said something, but he didn't hear her. His whole focus was on the 4 gashes in his leg. 2 surface level, barely broke the skin. The third one was a bit deeper, a small cut really, but nothing to worry about. The 4th one, however, was a proper laceration. It would need stitches. His grandma had been a nurse, and he an unruly child who got a lifetime of medical knowledge pounded into his head every time he came home. Bloody, bruised, and broken. So much so he learned to recognize, catalog, and treat most normal injuries a child would sustain, like a cut, or even a leg laceration. Larry poured his drinking water over the wound, and it washed away the blood, exposing the wound to his semi-expert eyes. Yeah, the 4th one could be a problem. Stitches, he thought, pouring schnapps over it. White-hot fire clenched every nerve ending in his leg and didn't let go. Larry grunted. He knew it the second time hurt more. He knew it. He prepared for it. And yet, a yelp escaped his lips as he wrapped the wound up with clean bandages. The last pair he had. Marty had more on him. What's wrong? Tina asked. It hurts like a motherfucker. Larry slowly stood, testing the ankle and calf. Pain shot up his knee and straight into his brain, making him dizzy. Fuck me, He shook his head and grabbed his spear. Ready to call Janet? Can you even walk? She asked. I can. Running, though. He tried for a smile. It looked like a scowl. And shit. He felt like scowling. Partly because of the leg. Partly because of the separation. Partly because he was stuck with Tina of all people. But mostly because he was an idiot. Running away from hard truths and endangering everyone in the process. Worst of all, sentencing Mighty to death. Let's make sure we don't need to run. Okay? Tina nodded slowly, turning her phone for him to see. She had Janet's contact information pulled up. Do it! She clicked the button. The phone peeped. And nothing. No ringtone rose in the night. No undead were pulled off their asses. Larry stared at Tina and her phone. Oh, fuck, he muttered. What? Tina asked. Her phone is on silent. Shit, Tina said, slumping down. What now? Now we find another way. Do you have Franz's number? She shook her head. Well then, Larry poked his head out. The 36 zombies turned to 24 dead, another 40 reaching for the sky, and a few feasting on the ones he killed. He snorted at his dumb thoughts and stabbed his new spear down. 40 minus 1, he muttered, stabbing down again. -2. Larry? Tina asked. Yeah, he grunted, stabbing again. -5. What are you doing? Thinking and killing, he stabbed down, eyes focused on the undead. We need a fast way across, but until we find one, another zombie stiffened at the end of his makeshift spear. We might just thin them out. It will do us good in the long run. She didn't respond, and he didn't need her to. He needed a new plan. The phone didn't work, and they had no gas to light a fire. Ironic, given the number of abandoned cars around them. Car alarm. The thought stunned him. How didn't I think of it sooner? He yelled at himself, eyes darting left and right, at dozens and dozens of parked cars. They needed something stupidly loud? Car alarms were made to be loud and stupid. Do you have spare weapons? A few. Why? A hammer? A wrench? Yes to both, she said. Why? Because I have a plan, Larry said, snatching a wrench out of her hand. He leaned past the flap and checked the street again. The dead were still packed tight against the truck, close enough that if he dropped his legs down there, they'd have him in seconds. He wasn't using that rear step again, so he turned back into the hopper and looked up. The inside walls were scuffed and dented, streaked with old garbage juice, but they weren't smooth. They gave him something to work with. He set one boot against one side, the other against the opposite wall, and pushed. His back pressed into the metal behind him. His wounded leg screamed. Worse this time. The pain hadn't stopped. It stacked, layered, climbed his spine, and tightened his breath. He gritted his teeth and moved anyway. Under him, the zombies went frantic at the sight, bodies thudding against the truck, hands slapping the metal below his feet. He didn't look down, couldn't. If he slipped, he'd drop straight into their embrace. Oh, how he hated his intrusive thoughts sometimes. He shifted his weight, frog stepping higher, inch by inch. The walls narrowed near the top, giving him more pressure but less room to move. Sweat ran into his eyes. His shoulders burned. His breath rasped in the dark, hot air of the trash well. Almost there. He slid one hand past the flap and felt along the roof lip until he found a bolt and some rough metal to grab. He took a breath, shifted his weight, and pulled. His shoulders screamed and his legs dangled, presenting a promising meal for the undead, and the things went wild, all but climbing over each other to reach him. Larry tucked his legs in against the truck and pushed himself up the last bit, ribs scraping steel, and rolled onto the roof, collapsing flat against the cold metal as the dead howled below. He lay there shaking, staring at the sky, breathing fresh air. Fuck yeah, he whispered, trying and failing to steady his breath. You good? Tina shouted from inside. Better than good. He stood on shaking legs. From up here, the street felt narrower. The cars packed tight beneath him, and zombies all around them. Everywhere, numbering in the hundreds. He could have stabbed them for days, and it wouldn't make a dent. Not that he had the time. Larry glanced at his leg, then at the construction site. Please, he prayed inwardly. Hold out. Larry turned his attention to the cars around them. He needed one far enough for it to draw the dead away, but close enough for him to hit. He settled for a Tesla on the other side of the street, 4 cars down from where he was. He placed his left leg in front and leaned back, the wrench resting on his right shoulder. Breathe, he told himself, using his left hand as a guide. Aim, breathe, Larry muttered and swung. The wrench flew out of his hand, spinning wildly through the air. Larry watched it spin over the Tesla and crash into a Chevy's windshield. A high-pitched alarm blared into the night, hazard lights blinking rapidly. Growls rose all around him. Hundreds of feet shuffled almost in unison. Larry stood on the garbage truck, watching the things crash into it and the cars. 2 more alarms blared, drawing in even more. Even the ones around Mike's building. Now they had a clear path towards the construction site. Perfect. If you are enjoying the story so far, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Larry stood on the truck, watching the things crash into each other, cars and buildings. From above, they looked more like a wave than a horde of the undead, almost like a force of nature. One good thing about the damned zombies was the fact that they swarmed. So if you managed to draw them away, they would stay away, basically locked in place by their own moans and shuffles. The other side of that bloody coin was the fact that once one saw you, they all did. Larry shuddered, glancing left. The construction site loomed in the lit night, waiting for him. And yet, he couldn't move. Not yet anyway. They needed to wait for the initial wave to pass. Let as many zombies as possible run past them. So Larry sat down, resting his leg and dismantling his makeshift spear. First, he cleaned the screwdriver, then cut the zip tie with the utility knife, leaving the broken stool leg atop the truck and stuffing the screwdriver into his belt. That had been a weapon of convenience, a poor man's substitute for his spear. A trash weapon, the thought popped into his mind, and Larry smiled at the insanity of his own mind. His phone vibrated. One new message. His heart did a somersault before he could even unlock the damn thing. His brain already envisioning their reunion. Barry's crazed smile, Anna's warm one. Leah's chuckle and Marty's, well, the man didn't smile much. But in his mind, he all but laughed as they all finally found each other. Tina sent him another SMS. His heart sank, and Larry immediately felt guilty. She was no Barry, or Anna true, but Tina too was a part of the crew, and he forced himself to feel delighted at the fact she too lived. It didn't work. The only thing he felt was a mild appreciation and throbbing pain in his leg. What now? The first text read, and the second was simply a question mark. We wait for the tide to slow, he texted back, and saw all of 2 messages they had exchanged in the 3 months they'd worked together. She told him her car broke down and she would be late, and he responded with a thumbs-up emoji and nothing since. Come on, Larry, give her a break, he told himself and typed. The more that come here, the less we have to avoid on the street. Makes sense, she texted back, and the alarms finally stopped. Larry moved. He climbed down, more accurately. He let himself dangle for a moment, and then dropped into the pile of corpses he had made. His leg buckled. Larry stumbled and fell on his ass, directly onto a dead woman's chest. The world spun, pain hammering at his brain. Tina grabbed his arm and helped him up. Larry gave her a thumbs up and limped to his spear. His stainless steel broom-handled double screwdriver spear. The duct tape tore. Maybe it had been the throw, or the fall, or simply the exposure to so much blood. Larry didn't know, and it didn't really matter. Not in the face of one of his screwdrivers barely holding on. Not when that thing should and would keep them alive. Larry crouched behind a parked car, zip-tying the thing back. Tina didn't even notice that he had stopped. She pressed on, already 2 cars down. Larry shook his head, tying the second zip tie in place, then applying liberal duct tape. It looked terrible, but it held. He would have to fix it next time they found a safe spot to rest up. Tina finally noticed that he wasn't behind her. The woman rubbernecked around like a headless chicken, searching for him. He waved, and she scowled, all but putting her hands on her hips. Larry reached her, and the alarms sounded again. Fuck, he thought, checking the street. The zombies were on the move again. 2 ran past their car, snarling and spitting blood, and they weren't the only ones. Larry gestured for them to move in a straight line from car to car, and they did so for 3 whole cars until they reached an empty parking space. Normally, he would have danced with happiness to see a free parking spot in New York, but now, blood froze in his veins. They would be exposed for 1 car length, 5 steps, 7 given his condition, while the crazed beasts growled and sprinted around them. If they see us, Larry thought, and as if on cue, his leg began throbbing again, hot and wet. He sucked on his teeth, studying the street around them. They had some 100 feet to the intersection they needed, and the Molotovs. How to play this, he thought. A zombie ran into the car they used as cover and bounced off. Tina almost jumped away, mouth open, no sound coming out. Larry stared at her for a moment, then slowly nodded. That almost run and almost scream was progress. Not much, but progress nonetheless. And he did promise to take it at her pace. The alarms stopped again, but the zombies didn't stop coming. Not for another 5 heartbeats. And it felt longer. Larry looked around the hood, seeing 4 crouching zombies. He ran, shuffled, across the open space, glancing right, making sure they were unseen. The things continued snarling and tearing into something. The sound of tearing flesh and breaking bones filled the sudden quiet. Tina passed him, reached the car, and continued to the next, head turning left and right, checking the street. 9 steps. That's how many Larry needed to cross a single empty parking spot, his leg protesting and screaming all the while, in addition to its now customary hot throbbing. A cold sweat broke his skin before he even reached the second car in the row. By the third, Larry needed to stop to catch his breath, but didn't. And he, the fool, pressed on to the 4th car in line, only for his leg to give out. Larry dropped to his knees, catching himself and panting as silently as he could. The muscles in his left thigh twitched and jerked, his ankle throbbing with a pulse of its own. So were his ears, as tears filled his eyes, blurring the world. Sweat ran down his face, gathering at his chin. Fucking hell! He flipped on his ass, stretching his leg, a deep, tearing pull along the muscle, as if his calf was splitting open. Tina grabbed his shoulder. Larry gave her a thumbs up, but didn't move. He remained there for a moment. Then 3, breathing deeply, giving his leg a moment to rest, and his brain a moment to plan. With the car alarm now gone, and his ears not rushing with blood anymore, he heard them, muffled moans and grunts. A lot of them came from inside the courtyard, so the car alarm hadn't drawn those in. Why not? From roughly 150 feet away, the alarm would still be the loudest sound around. Shit. It drew some from the construction site, so why not those? Could it be the buildings surrounding the courtyard? Not relevant, he told himself, glancing at the torn-down security gate and the Molotov cocktails waiting for them. Not even 20 feet away, just across the street. Could he dart in and out? Just grab them and sneak away? He glanced at his leg and discarded that plan. He wouldn't be darting anywhere anytime soon. How then? Larry sucked his teeth, glaring at bottles. So close, yet so far. And they were his only way of getting into the construction site. Or the only way he saw. Tina touched his shoulder. Move, she mouthed, gesturing towards the site. He shook his head, pointing at the bottles. No, she mouthed back, tapping her ear. We need, Larry mouthed, pointing at them. Why? Distraction. She glared at him. Her eyes flicked to his bandaged leg, then to the construction site, and Larry saw something in her eyes break and harden. Then out of nowhere, the woman gave a slow, uncertain nod. Larry blinked as Tina lowered her hoe and ran. He stared after the woman, not believing his eyes as she bolted from car to car, all the way to the gates, and then stopped. She froze mid-step, then pulled back, almost falling. He frowned, standing to see what halted her, but he saw nothing. The woman leaned around the car, then pulled back again, her face turning pale as a sheet of paper. He waved at her, tapping his eye. She lifted 3 fingers and bit the air. Shit. Larry shuffled to the left, to the next car in line, and finally saw them. Just inside the security gates stood 3 zombies, huddling together and facing the street. Well, there goes that plan, Larry thought, gesturing Tina over. The woman shook her head and pulled out her phone. Smart, Larry thought, grabbing his, and his heart sank immediately. No new texts. He closed his eyes, calm, forcing the idea of them not having any signal to the forefront of his mind. That was the most logical explanation, he told himself. And yet, he all but heard Anna's screams as they grabbed her, burning hands ripping her apart. He gritted his teeth and focused on what he could do, here, now. That was to get Tina back and figure a new plan out. But the woman hadn't texted him. No. She held her phone low, her eyes closed, and her head leaned back. The moans turned to growls. Steps echoed in the courtyard. Larry's head snapped up, just in time to see the 3 zombies run inside, and Tina rushed for the bottles. The woman grabbed the cocktails and bolted for the nearest car. Larry watched her dash from car to car, 2 Molotovs in her hands. One question rattling in his mind. What the hell? She reached him seconds later, trembling like a leaf, but a terrified grin stretched her face. What was that? He mouthed. I called Janet, she answered, still shaking. But her phone is on vibrate? Larry stared at her. She nodded and slowly mouthed, enunciating every word. The ones inside heard it and moved. Oh my God, Larry said, staring at her. Put a single zombie in front of her, and she turned to stone. Give her 30 seconds and a bit of space, she started thinking. Amazing. He mouthed more at her, as a person than the plan she came up with. Larry snorted. That was one strange woman. Thank you. She gave him the cocktails. What now? His phone vibrated. His heart skipped a beat as he pulled it out. One new message from Anna. We are in the basement. They are alive. He all but shouted and jumped for joy as he typed, We are coming to get you. He watched the little circle turn and turn into a red triangle. The message failed to send. Again. And his mind did what it always does. It turned practical. Larry checked when her message was sent, over 15 minutes ago. Larry turned to the construction site, still burning zombies milling inside the security fence. Some stood by the broken glass wall. Others crouched around the ones Barry had killed. They are alive, Larry told himself, taking one painful step forward. They have to be. He didn't let himself imagine the alternative. He simply couldn't. You've just listened to A Hopeless Pursuit, Story 9 from the Larry and Barry saga, the first long-running series in the Collapse. I post new stories twice a week, and for the next few weeks, the Collapse will be pulling double duty with even more episodes. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe and hit like. Let's try to reach 50 likes on this episode. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.